I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry to hear that you got so sick. Can you tell me what it was like in the hospital?
It was very scary, and the first 3 days they said it was most likely going to be deadly, and it was just very scary.
I bet. Mom, how did it feel for you?
It was almost living like in a fairy tale land. Like I was hearing what they were saying, but I wasn't comprehending it at all.
There is a process that usually happens when there is a foodborne illness. There's an investigation. Ultimately, the source of that illness, of the E.Coli or whatever it may be, is identified, and the public is alerted to it. Sometimes it can take a little while because it takes a little while to figure out how to trace back the source of the illness after people get sick. Ultimately, they figured this out in February of this year. And Chris, I want to know how you felt about the Trump administration, even though this happened in November. How do you feel about the Trump administration deciding in February, after your son was sick and after he got better, not to identify the lettuce grower?
Obviously, it makes me very upset. I believe that the American people and us should be able to know exactly who the grower is. That's why we hired Bill Marler. He's great at what he does, and he's going to get to the bottom of it, hopefully sooner than later.
They say that there was no longer the product on the market. It was unnecessary to identify the grower, and that if you had problems, you should have taken it up with the Biden administration. This is what the FDA commissioner said to one of our reporters today. What is your response to that?
My response to that would be, for me, I don't really care what administration it actually started with or ended with. We have a right to know under whichever president it is. The FDA should still do its job and let the American taxpayers know exactly who is at fault. That way we can know and the American people can know.
And you can know to be a little bit careful, and other growers can know to be extra careful so they're not put in the same position. You made a point of calling out Make America Healthy Again, and I want to understand why it was important for you, Chris, to put Make America Healthy Again side by side with what happened with your son.
I watch the news and I see, stuff with taking food coloring out of cereal and stuff like that. I'm sure that is bad for kids. But E. coli is even worse. I haven't heard of food dye that I know of injuring anybody. Cereal's been eaten forever. Lettuce gets eaten and consumed every single day. Therefore, it's deadly for old people and kids. And thankfully, Colton survived this. Like I said, I just think the FDA needs to do its job and come out and tell us who it was, whether there's romaine lettuce still on the shelf or not.
Bill, I know you've done a lot of these cases. Is it normal to have an issue trying to identify growers or trace back the source and publicizing it?
Not really. The CDC and FDA are really good at this. And the technology that exists, we know that all 89 of those people are whole genome sequenced match. Colton and 25 other of my clients, they're identical. They just happen to be in different states. So we knew that they ate the same product. And then when we finally did get the documents from the FDA and CDC, they were redacted. But by our investigation, the common denominator was one processor, one grower. And, ultimately, I feel that the public does have a right to know. Just as Chris said, the public has a right to know. These are, we are the taxpayers. The FDA and CDC should do their jobs and release this information because it helps prevent the next outbreak, which is really what this is all about.
Yeah, you want to know. You want the information. There's also a lot of concern about cuts currently happening at the FDA and at the USDA, staffing cuts that will make it harder to identify foodborne illnesses and to publicize it in a timely manner to make sure that people stay safe. Amber, personal question for you as a mother myself. How'd you get Colton to eat salad?
He doesn't eat romaine at all anymore. He eats just iceberg, and he has to see meat wash it multiple times just for him to feel safe.
Yeah. I can imagine, Colton. It must be really scary. Do you think about it a lot every time you take a bite of food?
It depends on like what kind of salad it is. If it's romaine and I eat it, I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna happen again or I'm just gonna be fine. So I don't know.
You know, do you instead say maybe I should get some ice cream instead of this salad?
Ice cream and burgers.
Ice cream and burgers cooked through. Well done. I just want to, before I let you guys go, I'm going to read the FDA statement. The FDA names firms when there is enough evidence linking an outbreak to a firm and there is actionable advice for consumers, as long as naming the firm is not legally prohibited. By the time investigators had confirmed the likely source, the outbreak had already ended and there was no actionable evidence for consumers. I know we discussed that, and you believe still that the information should be out there because people do have a right to know. Colton George.